Hello, my name is Michelle, and today I will be discussing how free speech should be controlled to a certain degree in a liberal democracy. In my opinion, I believe that free speech is an incredibly important factor in a liberal democracy and should absolutely be protected as much as possible. However, free speech can also be very harmful to individuals or groups of people. In those instances, it's very important that we understand the Canadian approach to human rights laws, in which it prohibits discrimination based on race, sex, age, religion, employment, accommodations, and publicly available services. Furthermore, as stated in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in its subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by laws as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. In other words, free speech is a Canadian right, but much like any other legal structure, it is to a reasonable degree. One cannot expect to cause undue harm to another without consequence, even in a society that prizes free speech. A large factor to consider is that in a liberal democracy, free speech is protected and encouraged, but when it becomes harmful to other, it does ensue consequence. This does not mean that free speech is being taken away from us, but rather having repercussions to the speech that an individual chooses to verbally or virtually express that may cause harm to another person. Free speech without some degree of control may give individuals or groups of people the influence they need to sway potentially easily influenceable individuals, um, and those groups may not be a positive factor to our society overall. For example, groups such as the Ku Klux Klan are heavily censored on social media and basically everywhere. And had they not been censored, they could potentially have a much larger reach and influence many more people to join this hate group. Furthermore, in an increasing virtual world, we're seeing factors such as fake news, misinformation, and other forms of detrimentally misleading information online. The risk that this form of free speech poses on society is great and can impact the way that we view others or even affect our major political decisions. Misinformation, fake news, and other harmful virtual forms of communications, in my opinion, should absolutely be screened and controlled. In fact, many social media platforms are using artificial intelligence to filter out and censor misinformation or fake news. Of course, it's not a perfect system, and other methods of controlling harmful information should also be employed. In conclusion, I strongly believe that free speech is an integral part of our society as a liberal democracy, and we should always cherish our rights to free speech in the Canadian human right laws. However, it's also important to understand that free speech does not come without consequence. We as a liberal democracy should opt to move forward and become more inclusive in the modern world. Free speech and social media can greatly help bring people together from all walks of life, but at the same time, it can also influence people with hate speech, fake news, misinformation, and other forms of communication. Ideally, every piece of information that we discover online should be thought about critically, should be researched, and based on your findings, we should form a non biased opinion. Obviously, this is not always the case, and some people who may be easily influenced may fall into a misinformation or fake news trap, and then from there they would spread that information to their peers. Free speech, in my opinion, should absolutely be controlled to a reasonable degree for the protection and the betterment of society. Thank you very much.